Go step by step, brick by brick, piece by piece until it's complete. You got to build it up. Welcome on back down to the Steam Tunnels here. Steam Tunnels and Steam Tunnels Remote. Got quite the setup going on today, but I won't involve too much of the inside baseball. But it is I, Josh the Birdman, welcoming you back to the Steam Tunnels, back to convene the mighty triumvirate here to discuss all things pop culture and social commentary, all the most important things you need to know or didn't know you needed to know until today. Coming on in. Welcome to it. I'm going to start with a quick shout out to our very mobile Three of Clubs. How you doing this morning?
I am doing my best not to focus on the fact that I have to go to work pretty soon. So please, listeners, please tell your friends. Please rate and subscribe. Please do all the things that Josh tells you to do, so we can stop doing this 9-to-5 stuff and really just bring you the awesome content like up, down, down, left, right, A, B, start. And we're about to get these 99 lives.
Absolutely.
Let's get these 99 lives. Let's get these 99 lives, people.
I'm telling you. I never exhausted the 99 lives. It might as well have been infinite. That was always enough to win Contra. And that will, of course, lead us back into it. And yes, as RaShaun said, head on over to Spotify now. Spotify does it. Apple iTunes, or Apple, Apple Podcasts or iTunes. Rate, review, really throw that in. We want to sell you. Yeah, we want to sell you online therapy. We want to sell you dick pills. We want to sell you anything. We're whores, okay? We get it. We know what we need to do, but you're always working for somebody. So we would really much rather be working from home, especially the fitness professionals here. So in the meantime, moving on over to Star Child. How you doing today?
Feeling all right, man. Ready to peddle those dick pills and all sorts of male hygienic products. I think that's the new thing, like man products. We gotta find some man products to push.
Man products are definitely a thing, Right. It's all about the male, or I guess that at least in the podcast world, maybe that's or at least the podcast I listen to. So I'll give you that. And purple mattresses and the likes there. So the Steam gentleman going full commercial today, even with people we don't have sponsorship for. We're just pushing that boat. We're just going on in. But
ooh, baby, I would like to, gonna sell you pills.
I would like to interrupt and point out that one, I believe Andy Van Slyke isn't doing anything else. So if he wants to join our podcast and promote some more dick pills, we're totally down for that. We're here for that. And frankly, I had the other thought, but it went away since I heard Greg sing.
Well, Greg singing will absolutely, I think half our audience just melted, and that's regardless of gender or gender identity. I think that just, Greg hits the these and thems, even that demographic, man. We should just have you doing an entire show of just you singing, Greg. I'm telling you, that's got to be our Patreon subscription deal.
I mean,
Greg's demographic when he sings is if you have loins.
Yes, that's it. Right. Whatever, I mean, maybe, well, don't even mean to exclude the asexuals. So you're perfectly welcome to listen. I mean, we want you here. You're all good. We got no worries or, no desire to cut anybody out, but bringing us around to our subject today, I have to beam with pride as a father and just again, pat myself on the back for just doing such a bang up job. That my kids, firstly, they started their extended school vacation today, Good Friday. My Catholic wife was like, why do they have school off on Friday? I'm like, it's Good Friday. Like, this is your religion. You went to church every Sunday with your dad, right? Why is the Jew explaining this to you? I have no idea. But nevertheless, all right, there you go. So my kids, though, and this is apropos, they downloaded a game on their respective tablets, and it is it's one of these military commander games, and they're making Roman legions, right? So their father is just beaming with pride on a Good Friday that they're down there expanding the frontiers of the empire. because nothing came through
yeah.
more. Nothing comes through more on a Good Friday than that, right? Come on.
Yeah, just can you crucify a Messiah in this game? Like, do they bring it all the way?
I don't think they bring it quite that far. I think you're
right.
just subjugating barbarians, and we're using bunny quotes on the barbarians thing there, right?
Right. Because it's like my dad's a Jew, and let me, play a game where I get to be a Roman, but the Romans don't get thrown in with the Nazis, ironically enough. So
it's a little weird.
I mean, they're easily they were just as bad. But yeah, they don't get thrown in there. Yeah, that's true.
Well,
well, I mean, if we're gonna go. If we're going to go in that direction, then you might as well toss in the Dutch too. I mean, there's plenty of people who, if we're going to be tossing about worldwide genocide type numbers, there's plenty of groups we can be tossing in with the Nazis.
Ain't no Dutch video games. Oh, dude, did you see that game where you get to play as the Dutch?
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I had such a high score on the triad turning slaves to sugarcane and sugarcane to rum. And I just killed it, man.
Right. Oh my God. Did you unlock the Belgians?
Holy shit.
I want to go ahead and flip this on its head and apologize to our Dutch listeners, because I was just making an historical point. I didn't mean to shit all over your culture like my two esteemed gentlemen did, but yeah,
I look at it more.
There should be more Dutch themed video games. I agree.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
To me, I'm going to take it to now, apparently, the vaccine expert Rob Schneider in his movie Deuce Bigalow 2, where he points out to his black friend about how the Dutch started slavery after he was commenting on how they were at a chicken and waffle place in
Wait, Rob Schneider too?
Yeah, nah.
For fuck's sake, man.
Yeah,
me too. Rob, he's
Rob Schneider.
Yeah.
Why the fuck does Rob Schneider have a serious opinion about anything? Like who thinks to themselves, damn it, Rob Schneider will have the answer.
Deuce Bigelow, male gigolo, 1 and 2, no less.
I guess so.
To be fair, that wasn't necessarily his thought, as it was a scripted comment. However, Rob Schneider is a real person. He has plenty of thoughts there, actually, ironically, counter to what his very enlightened point was in the obviously the very erudite type movie and film, cinema Tour de Force, Deuce Bigalow 2.
Tour de Force.
Tour de Force.
So, to be fair,
critically
that was a
acclaimed
response.
He critically acclaimed and box office runaway hits. Deuce
Runaway.
Bigalow 2.
On the top 10 movies considered for Academy Awards that year for Best Film, his movie was number 11, which is honorable when you think about it.
Well, there you go. Right.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, bringing that up there to
also,
the top.
his daughter has disowned him because of who he is.
Oh, I was unaware of that, but I guess all right. It's always possible.
I didn't know that either. Yeah.
Hope springs eternal. But nevertheless, going back to my fine parenting skills, as I say, as my kids are playing Roman soldiers on Good Friday, just it brings us around to our subject matter today, one that I realized we hadn't touched on that I think it was high time that we did, which is Jesus Christ, we've spent a lot of time in our lives playing video games. I mean, maybe it's a Gen X thing, but I feel like the millennials, the Z-lennials, it seems to be another one of those common things that can just bring a lot of people together, even as we sit apart and stew in our own juices. Because, for people listening who haven't lived the nerd life, who are using this to sort of, kind of get on in and get the understanding of how the nerd half lives, you have not really understood the art of fermentation until you have smelt a room that young boys have been sitting there playing either D&D or video games or something along the lines of 16 hours, 18 hours straight, right? Like putting more man hours into than just sitting there, right? And sustaining yourself only on the worst of the simplest carbohydrates and Mountain Dew, which Jesus Christ, I never even liked Mountain Dew, but I'm sure I still drank it because it just had caffeine in it, right? The beginnings of that.
I was more on the Fanta side, to be fair.
Oh,
Fanta and Sprite and ginger ale and stuff like that. So
Hitler's very own soda. All right, love it.
Yeah. Well, there's too much sugar. If you can believe it or not, that's what my mom would say. There's too much sugar in Mountain Dew. I'm like looking at the rest of the soda aisle. I'm like, how are we parsing too much sugar, mother?
Yes.
We're gonna do that.
Yes, this was the bridge too far, right? Right. They didn't. They just told us in grams back then. They didn't even tell us percent of daily value of your 2,000 calorie diet, right? They just told you it's like, here are the grams.
I believe my mom's cutoff was 45 grams per serving. Yeah.
All right.
Up until that point. Yeah, well, Mountain Dew is like 52, so she had to put the line of demarcation somewhere. Oh, quick question for you, Josh. You're beaming with pride with what your kids are playing on video games right now, and that's all well and good, and I'm proud for you. However, quick question for you. How are you feeling if all of a sudden you start hearing hammer and nails and seeing your sons dragging 2x4s into the backyard?
I mean, today it's historically accurate. That's all I'm saying. I ask for historical accuracy in whatever their endeavors are. The thing that...
Hey, Dad, get out here. Dad, get out here. We just want to size you up real fast.
Yeah. I'm Jewish, so, they got that part right.
What's your wingspan, Dad? We just want to know.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. So it definitely is one of those things that we would want to make sure that we're, as I say, historical accuracy is what's important, and the underlying knowledge. I love both my kids a great deal, and I don't, sometimes I've talked about it earlier, but my oldest is on the spectrum, and I love him, but he really has a thirst for knowledge. I like to think like his dad. But sometimes he'll get one fact and then he will run in directions with it that he just doesn't know. And then he will not listen to me when I try and explain the real facts to him. So that's just my only thing in life. It's like, no, get the timelines right. So, there'd be a part of me that still, as long as they did it right, and that they got, the design of the cross correct. It didn't have that extra point on the top most of the time. A lot of people don't realize that. It was just a giant T. Just saying, and if he could tell me that the root of the word excruciating does in fact lie in crucifixion, which is where the word comes from, people, look it up. Then I'm going to be, my job's done, right? That's all.
My job here is done.
My job, I've trained my replacement fully just to, continue to put the world through useless facts. But yeah, video games, man, they hold us together. They really do. They bring us together in more ways now, historically, as I say. My son's learning the logistics of running an army and, the importance of defending your walls with enough archers and what have you. But, it really is something that is amazingly, in my opinion, totally uniting within the sub-community, but many sub-communities of nerds. It's like, not only do you play video games, because most of us, when we're watching the movies we watch and all that, we kind of know what we're in for and what we're getting into. But and then the question becomes not only so much like, do you play video games, but it's what kind of video games do you play? And just the amazing amount of time that we can absolutely sink into this little endeavor. It is really impression. It really is quite amazing that they make such an impression on us. Pardon me, I was getting ahead of myself in that regard. So with that, I want to give it over to the three of clubs here. Get him up, get him running here early in the morning for us as we are in our new Steam Gentleman recording situation here. And I want to hear what he has to say about his favorite video games and what got him going in his 10 minutes of fame here.
Well, first I would point out that what my mom used to call it when I was ruminating in a room for about 16 hours, especially if I had or somehow wrangled in a friend to come hang out with me and do that, it would be I was marinating. That's how she would put it. And I would also like to point out, our female listeners, that you guys have the capacity to marinate too. I've definitely had a few friends who are hardcore gamers who are female, and going into those rooms after they had a few different sessions, the smell is similar. It's the body funk of not washing or moving for way too long. Obviously, first world problems, but we digress. Video games. If you look at the world of video games, I don't know why you would do this, but if you were to look at the world of video games in the sense of all of it being a war, I am the veteran on the side of Michael Ironside from Starship Troopers. I'm grizzled. I have one arm because of definitely some hardcore situations. I do not have any more enthusiasm for what in which I am still involved with. However, I will give my life willingly for the cause that I fight for. And I will do it while staring at the younger generation in a way that is nothing but contempt and devoid of hope and understanding. However, a willingness in it, and if I may use the man's name and the approach of what I'm getting towards, an iron will to continue the not the conflict, but the campaign of the fantasy found within the world of video games. I will do it, and I will do it to the end of my life, as Michael Ironside did in Starship Troopers. Video games have always been around my life. Part of that reason is, as I've pointed out a few different times, I'm the youngest of five. My oldest sibling, or my closest sibling, is 7 years older than me. So by the time I was about 3, I was already exposed and playing video games in a very bad capacity. I was definitely that kid who would follow his sibling to, let's say, an arcade. Kids back in the day, I want to point out there were locales, if you will, that had these coin-operated machines that had graphics that were worse than your worst iOS game, and we spent hours pumping quarters into these things in hopes of getting to stage 2 of whatever video game we were playing. Most of the time, we didn't. Some of us even got to the mythical stage 3 of any video game, and you may be thinking, what video game 30C? What video game 30 Clubs? RaShaun Smith, what are you talking about? What video games? And I'm here to tell you in the arcade, it didn't matter. You weren't getting to stage 2. However, point being is that I would be that kid who definitely would have to go with his older sibling and be on the coin-operated machine acting like he's playing or thinking he's playing because his older sibling was too cruel to give him his portion of his money and would basically say, hey, no matter what the thing is saying on the screen, you are playing a video game. And I would just sit there and move the controls and bash buttons and be content. And it was only until about a year later when, I was a mature age of 4 where I realized that, hey, man, you've been lying to me and I need some quarters, which led to one of my first life events and how I am not kidding when I say I am the grizzled veteran of, or one of the grizzled veterans of video game playing is that the passion and love in which I've developed from it with such an early age that one of the places that we were living in when I was 5, our laundry was coin operated. And I decided to go ahead and move into, kids, if you grew up in New England and you're around our age, you had these commercials from the Church of the Latter-day Saints. They had wonderful life lessons. I encourage you to go ahead and YouTube them. You'll want to either make...
Is he?
You'll most likely want to make a neighbor a random pizza. You may want to go ahead and whatchamacallit, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm totally spinning out of control.
Say, oh my heck, or gosh darn a lot. Make sure.
No. Wow, I cannot think. This is so bad. This is awful. This is
the one where he broke the window. The one where he broke the window with the baseball.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Confess. You may want to confess to a random window breaking. However, where I was leading to is that there were so many life lessons, and one was about theft, and I stole quarters from my mom's purse so she could do laundry so I can play video games. That's how I knew this was not going to end well. My mom also knew it too and absolutely hated video games, and it was central to a lot of different weird life lessons I had throughout. Fun fact with my mom, she hated video games, never really played them. However, there was this game on Nintendo called Pro Wrestling. I think that's just what it was called. It had the Starman for anyone who's asking what the hell I'm talking about. My mom only played that 3 times. She played it against me, and she absolutely destroyed me. She absolutely destroyed me. So other than that, that was kind of her only foray. The other foray her and I had when it came to video games, actually, there's so many more that I'll do my
RaShaun,
best to get through and why this is important. Yeah.
what did she make you wash your own underwear then after that she destroyed you? Because I mean, I think that would have been suitable, right? Like, hey,
No.
first I'm gonna kick your ass at video games, and I'm gonna make you like wash your laundry in the tub because you stole quarters from me.
No, but actually, a little bit earlier, around the age of 5, going back, if we want to bring up what my mom would make me do with laundry, I stopped peeing the bed because she told me the next time I do it, I'm gonna have to wash my own sheets. And not that I didn't believe her, I just didn't heed my own biological warnings and went ahead and peed. And at the age of 5, I learned how to do laundry because my mom was not kidding. Also, if we're continuing with the stories of mom and how life lessons kick in, same thing when it came to like a Christmas. So there's multiple Christmases where I wanted video games, hardcore, a new video game system, if you will. I had the Sega Genesis, the TurboGrafx 16, to name a few. Sega Genesis 32X. Yes, I am a veteran of so many bad battles that we don't have enough time for this. But I needed to know so bad that I went ahead and searched for my Christmas gifts and found it, and I proceeded to tell my brother, who then held it over my head and made me do his chores for the next 2 weeks leading into Christmas. And my mom knew, and she knew that the guilt that I was going to have was just as bad. So when Christmas Day came and I acted like I was so surprised to get it, that woman had the best smile on her face, and it wasn't happy for me or any sort of pride or anything like that. It was more like, this little bastard definitely learned his lesson, and hopefully we're done doing this. Because I'll remind you, another time I did this, my mom took the toy, and I never stole that toy again. We're only talking a couple of years. I'll give you, why am I going through all this? Another thing I can continue to tell you about. Last night, I was up way too late playing video games. I've played 1,000+ hours of Civilizations. I got kicked out of school, college, because instead of going home and studying for one test that I only had to pass, I'm not even saying get a good grade. I'm just saying I needed to pass the one test. I went home, and the first move I did was like, well, I never got past this stage in Metal Gear Solid, so I'm just going to put it on, clear my mind, and be all good. And then 8 hours later, I'm finishing the game. I was on such a roll. I was basically the wizard from the Kid Wizard from the movie Wizard. Kids, don't hurt yourself looking for it. Just like literally put Fred Savage and then Wizard, and you'll find it. Don't worry about it. But the point being is, I was his little buddy. I hit a zone. That always happened when I was at the arcade with my friends in high school, which, by the way, I was the only one who wanted to be at the arcade. None of my friends wanted to be at the arcade. And I would be like, okay, let me just, I'll leave after his last life, and all of a sudden go on a run forever. I can give you more stories on this, but the reason why this tends to happen to me, and I would argue for other people, is there's a couple things that kind of happen with video games that are so important that you cannot dismiss them no matter what you do or what side you're coming in from. So one, let's just be clear and right away, it's escapism. You get to experience a life that is not your own, and frankly, most of the time, no consequence. Sure, there are multiple cases throughout the world in the last 40+ years of the video game industry where people have gone to fatal consequences or consequences that had a financial fatality to it. However, I would argue for most of us, we get to just do something we wouldn't normally get to do, and that's very powerful. It's not so much that escapism in the sense of you do not want to face the real world, but in the sense that there's worlds you will never get to experience in this lifetime. I'm not going to say what's going to happen when we close our eyes in the infinite sense. Who knows what happens? We may be shot to a whole different world and different experience, different dimension, blah, blah, blah. I don't know that. However, I do know that last night I was playing a game that took place thousands of light years away and thousands of years away from time from now. And chances are I will not be able to do that. I get to dunk a ball. I'm 5'7". I'm a squat little guy. The only way I'm going to dunk a ball is jumping in physical sense, is jumping off a table that is like 7 feet tall and hoping for the best. It's just not going to happen in real life. I get to play up against Peyton Manning and destroy him by sacking him left and right and then building an awesome franchise. I get to do all these different things, and that's what comes with the video games. Is you get to escape a life that you really wouldn't have a chance to do, which is funny because growing up, a lot of times the common argument a lot of my friends would kick back to me would be as simple as like, well, you want to play video games and like basketball, why don't we just go to court and play? And so, to a certain extent, they had some good cases. And some of my friends were able to really become great athletes. However, I'm looking at them like, I'm probably never going to play professional sports, so I'd rather just do this. Go ahead, Josh. Oh, timing me out. The other elements they're just elements that you do not get to experience in real life. So I would talk about the colors that you get to experience, the decisions. Some of us, believe it or not, religion wasn't where we got morality. We got morality from playing role-playing games. Some of us, the reason why we were able to love sports wasn't because of actually watching sports, but being involved in video games and sports like that. Sad truth is, when it comes to history, some of these video games do a better job of explaining history, as Josh started this podcast with, and actual lessons that some of these kids are getting in classes right now. There have been cases and studies throughout medical schools in the last 20 years that have pointed out that surgeons have been able to increase their hand-eye coordination by playing video games. Video games have a lot of great applications. Matter of fact, I would argue most of our Air Force and part of our Navy and Army, when it comes to the drone brigade that we have, really came up because video games were honing generations of hand-eye skill and coordination to the point where we kind of have aces that are only 15 years old. That's incredible. There's so many different points I want to go to, but unfortunately, like I said, work got in the way of my head, so now I'm just rambling and spinning. I probably went past my time, so Josh, you go ahead and edit whatever you want, and I'll go ahead and shut up.
I mean, I like that you unintentionally just highlighted the most loathed and reviled Robin Williams movie of all time, that being Toys, which what the entire plot of the movie was that they were going to make the next generation of the military, out of kids playing video games, which, hey, they did. What do you know? So, maybe you didn't like it, but all I'm saying is LL Cool J did a lot with very little there. I'm just going to say that much, right? When it comes down to Toys, man. I mean, there was not a lot for LL to bite it, not a lot of meat on that bone. And he did all right with it.
I thought it wasn't that was Ender's Game.
Ender's Game, yes. Now that's the true. We can get to that.
All right, wasn't that Ender's Game?
I will do a whole entire episode on Ender's Game. Ender's Game is one of my favorite books of all time. I read it when I was a kid. That predicted not only that, it predicted the laptop. It predicted so many things. It predicted QAnon. It predicted just the general rise of the geopolitic and the use of the internet to push the geopolitic. Like I say, not trying to get us into any trouble here, but just telling you, like, that's what was in that book. So it just is the case and was the case. But one of my all-time favorite books.
Also, probably being the one who read Ender's Game the most recent. That I read probably about 10 years ago, right before the movie came out. I would point out that the difference between Toys and Ender's Game was that if we're talking specifically about video games, where it broke apart was so much that they were making a brigade of children who were just playing video games. Those children in Ender's Game were the complete mental elite. They were the brainiacs of the brainiacs of the brainiacs. It just so happened that one of the tools that they used in their academy after selection was a video game. to which Ender proved himself by breaking the video game open and literally killing the source code within it.
Yes. So, well, and there's lots more down that particular rabbit hole, but let's bring it back over.
He was basically Neo before Neo.
Yes.
He fought the source code and he won.
An incredibly influential part of the nerdverse, without a doubt, and a way to prove your true credentials, which is of course why it was just a prerequisite to join this little round table here. But let's take it from the stars out to the star child, and I want to get his. I want to get the lifelong artist, the guy who went to mass art no less, and is still our graphic designer, which, by the way, he designed a shirt, an 8-bit version of the Steam Gentleman. I'll leave the link in the episode description. I'm wearing it right now. Still one of my all-time favorites. It's all three of us as Mario characters. And as my youngest Gabe says, what's that leaf in the center there? That's the leaf that keeps Daddy sane, buddy. Yeah. But as it keeps Daddy on track as much as can be expected. But let's hear from the star child, Greg DeSense, and his video game experience and how it binded him to the nerdverse.
Dun 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 dun. Oh. I was gonna go in a different direction with it. I want to kind of split it into two parts, because I think the draw is not so much escapism. I'm gonna be the counter on this one. I think it's not so much escapism, because escapism's cheap.
As we do here, you're the counter. Yeah. You're the counterweight, as we do.
Yeah, the escapism's cheap. If it was just about escapism, then it would just be a muscle-bound guy charging through some battlefield, hacking everybody to death. But even games like that are still more challenging than just that. No one wants to play that game. The thing that really gets people into any game is the puzzle, right? At the end of the day, at its core, it's a puzzle. So it's really just the question of what kind of puzzle do you like? Like just that part of our brains, that had to, live a subterranean life during whatever prehistoric age that still needs stimulation. What stimulates that part of the brain? Admit that even though, video gamers and, people who play sports, athletes, it's still a puzzle. When you step out onto a soccer field or a football field or a basketball court, it's a puzzle. You have to keep this ball in motion. You cannot step into certain places. You cannot foul the person that is defending you. You have to get this ball into that hoop in order to score. And you have to do that over and over again. And, more and more rules that make it more and more difficult. And that's the puzzle that really intrigues people and draws them in. Be it a board game, be it a card game, whatever the case is, like it's something in your brain that stimulates that part of it. And you said, as an artist, a piece of artwork is a puzzle. One of the reasons I love to accept random commissions is because somebody will come up to me, and this actually happened. She wanted each member of her family to be a different kind of character, comic book character. And I was like, all right, yeah, that's fine. But then she just started throwing in random shit because her kids got into it. And so her kids were like, ooh, make me a Minecraft character. Ooh, can you make me invisible? And they just kept throwing things on. And I was like, you know what, kids? Hell yes, I can do that. And,
yeah, I remember one of those pieces. I think it's the same one, but I remember when you were working on that.
Yeah. And you know what? You get into it. It becomes a puzzle and more questions that you have to answer. And that's part of making artwork that I really do enjoy. And I think that, part of our brain wants stimulation. Otherwise, we're going to lose it, your wisdom teeth, your appendix, it's something evolution gave you that you just don't need anymore. But that part of our brain, but that part of our brain that wants that challenge, that's what you get from it. Honestly, let's start with the old Pac-Man. You have to get a little Pac-Man. It was a stupid fucking game, but you have to get Pac-Man around this maze without getting eaten by the ghosts and finish eating all of the little pellets. It's very simple, but it's still a puzzle. Take that up to the next one. Mario could just run on a flat surface shooting everything if it was just about escapism. But the levels go crazy. You have different creatures placed in specific places so that they hit Mario when he jumps. So you got to get around that. And then there are final bosses that you have to get to, and there are different levels with ice themes, fire themes. All of those things are a challenge that you want to get through. Take it all the way up to God of War. I mean, does it get any more manly? Right. It's bullshit. It's everything men like. It's everything men like. Muscles, bullshit history, and sharp objects, right?
I like football and porno and books about war.
Right? It's everything a guy wants. But if you play God of War, actually, there are mini games in it. There are mini games. There are mini puzzles for absolutely no reason. You don't need to have these puzzles inside this game, because if it was just about escapism, then you could just be Kratos going along, ripping the wings off of harpies. But it's not just that. It's about making something that the players are going to get drawn into. And next thing you know, you own them for a good portion of their lives. And we want to give it to them. We want to give you that portion of our lives, but we want to make it worthwhile. You take a game like Zelda. Now, Zelda was probably the first game that I played that took forever. I was like, it looked terrible, but it was like an open world.
Yep.
And you had to walk around and you had to figure things out on your own. It was amazing. I'm a lot more selective with my role-playing games or open world games now, because I know they take so long. So I'm much more selective with them. So I don't know when was the last time I actually played one. It might have actually been Zelda, but it was a while. You take a game like, if you haven't played Shadow of the Colossus, it's brilliant. And it's entirely a puzzle. You play this, guy riding on a horse. And the challenge is you have to take down these giants that are roaming and terrorizing the land. And, it's not like most games where, you fight a bunch of little bad guys on the way or anything like that. No, it's the Colossus is each individual puzzle. And honestly, absolutely brilliant. First person shooters. Okay, yeah, it supposedly puts you into the game, but even those have many challenges on the way that suck you into this game. So when I play Halo, yes, I'm one of those Halo guys. When you play Halo, it really is about setting up a base of operations and going into the attack. But is so much drama in these stories, and honestly, as graphics have gotten better, so have the stories. Like, the stories have gotten so deep that you really do care. You care about these characters. So suddenly, like I said, even a story getting into a movie or a TV show, even that is about a puzzle. It's about finding out what happens at the end. The Arkham games. Play all of the Arkham games, whether you like Batman or not. Play all of the Arkham games, because you can use your imagination. Like when you go up to a group of guys and you have all of your gadgets, and you can take them apart and take them down in so many different ways. It's just too much damn fun. Final Fantasy, most people just say play Final Fantasy 2 and Final Fantasy 7. But they're still coming out with Final Fantasy games, and honestly, amazing. They're amazing. Yeah. They just keep getting better and more beautiful and more fun. If you haven't played, if we're going back in the day, if you haven't played Mario 3, all right, now that, in my opinion, that's when they perfected Mario. The suits, again, the different kind of challenging levels, like, it's just absolutely brilliant games. It's an absolutely brilliant game, a must play. Fighting games. Now, fighting games, I use that example a lot, especially because if it was just about ripping heads off, there would just be, 2 buttons. but you need so much dexterity. And if you're going to get good at it, RaShaun kind of brought up the point about dexterity. If you're going to get good at it, you have to learn these combos. You have to learn how to play. And the better you get, the more you get out of the game. And it's designed that way. They want to make sure that you understand that this isn't going to be something where the term for it is button mash. You can't just button mash your way through this. Like, you have to actually learn the buttons. You have to learn the combos and timing. Like, they've gotten so good at creating a sense of timing in these games. Games like Metal Gear Solid, where again, you got to figure your way around. Like, you have to sneak around, you have to use stealth, you have to honestly try it over and over and over again. More often than not, you just kind of wear the game down more than really go in knowing what you're doing. But if it wasn't for the puzzle, if it wasn't for the challenge, like I said, then no one would be wasting their time on these games. They would be boring, they would be stupid, nobody would care. But like me, I love Halo and Batman. My wife, she loves Candy Crush. She doesn't think it's the same thing. I say, you know what, honey? It is the same thing. It's just a question of how you like your puzzle packaged. That's all.
Well, that is a beautiful message for the day. How you like your puzzle packaged, without a doubt.
I did my best to stay as quiet as possible during all that, and I would just point out a few different things. And one, Greg, you kind of ate your own point by saying it's not escapism, but then we talked about escapism. Also, escapism is going to be a little bit different for everyone, so I can't argue that it's not going to happen for everyone. And to say that everyone's playing puzzles or playing for puzzles, then why would video games have a separate genre to point out to people, this is a puzzle game, this is an action game, this is a fighting game? I get that there needs to be intrigue or other elements, but that's also mainly because the medium itself has evolved. No one had these thoughts when, in 1988, when Zelda was in its prominence, other than some central points that you make up, which is why it was such a monumental game. But past that, yeah, it was kind of just some straightforward video game playing for a lot of different reasons. I would argue that everyone has their own entry points to video games, and it's not just puzzles. It's no different than one of the points you made about Final Fantasy, where you're saying everyone would just say play 2 or 7. That's hilarious considering a lot of people I've talked to love 10. And I'm not going to sit here and say they're the only people who know all about Final Fantasy, so 10 is the mark that everyone should apply themselves to. I'm just going to point out it's just a different group. It's just people who like different things. So the binding of it all is video games, and why you like it, I'm not going to tell you why. I think everyone has different reasons, but case in point, I never played God of War. I have no desire to play God of War. I'll probably play it eventually. There's plenty of video games I can say that for, and I'm sure everyone can say the same thing. You can say that. Josh can say that. So I think we will run into a very dangerous game by saying this is the only reason why you're playing video games.
Well, today in past, sometimes from time to time, I've been accused of pitting you two together. But today, I'm running into the ring. I'm going to take you both down. I'm going to clothesline you, but I'm actually going to wrap your points together and tie you up in a nice pretzel to keep this little WWF metaphor going. Because I think, as I'm stepping in, actually, as I can make my mansplaining point here, it's about escapism and puzzles. And it's about finding that exact right ratio. At least that's what drew me into this whole entire world.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Exactly.
Finding those two things. And Greg, you definitely, I think you maybe, you got into my point, but we are like-minded individuals. That's why we are on this panel together. But I think, what, nothing quite is going to steal my life like a good role-playing game in exactly the right proportion. It's got to have the exact right proportion of violence and puzzles, right, going together. Now, I was speaking with pride about my kids playing this 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 Roman tactic game. By the way, I'll quote to our audience what I quoted to you. This is General Omar Bradley, which is that amateurs talk about tactics and professionals talk about logistics. Just remember that as you go forward in life.
Ooh.
If I drop off this mortal coil today, remember I passed that little quote along to you. I was thinking about that for you, Greg, when you were talking about Halo and setting up bases and what have you, right? And Mother Russia's finding that out right about now.
I'm sorry, I played a lot of Halo. I know I haven't played the last two, but I don't know what this establishing bases are. It's pretty straightforward FPS until maybe Halo Reach, where the story really starts to kick in. I'm with you in the sense that a lot of these video games have way more immersive stories than people give it credit for. That's why it tends to work better for TV shows and movies, because then you can expand the mythology of the video game that's already set out in a franchise. But I don't know about this establishment base. A lot of times they literally say, hey, you're in point A, you go to point B, and you kill everything in between.
But getting back to it, that balance, exactly. Finding, for me, the thing that's going to draw me in is finding that balance of puzzle to violence to things. Now, I beamed with such pride about my kids. Now, the other thing that I've got, and keep in mind, I'm going to, sacrifice part of my kids' college future and, whatever, because, if you listen to the news these days, I'm not even sure what kind of future they got. And I'm about to pay a crap ton of money to none other than Disney so that I can fully go and LARP Star Wars for 2 days. Okay, people, that's happening. Okay. This is going to occur. I'm putting my Star Wars face forward. I'll continue to beam with pride because on their Nintendo Switch, I downloaded the classic Knights of the Old Republic, right? How could this not be, for me? You're playing, you get to puzzle solve, you have to problem solve, and you get a lightsaber. At one point, you can go light side, you can go dark side, right? You have to sometimes find mini puzzles in there and figure out the exact combinations of words or various things or pass different trials or what have you. But, there is that combination right there. Totally draws me in. I've played this game, I don't know how many times, and I was so overjoyed that my kids could start playing it again. Now, my oldest son, Isaac, has already figured out ways. He keeps restarting the thing without even finishing it, starting new characters, but figuring out faster and faster ways to get through the earlier levels. I'm so proud of him. He's just impressive, and playing different types. He actually produced a scoundrel, which is one of the character archetypes that I called the Canadian, because he had a red jacket on and a mullet, an honest to God mullet. So
as he should.
As he should. He was absolutely running around, smuggling Tim Hortons to the United States, as far as I can tell. He was doing his damnedest. So, a prime example there, and something that's fun. I will take it back. Zelda and its various iterations, I think, was that exact, RaShaun was very much right, and especially in the original one. And it can be the complex that you have to get better at combat. My wife just was, she may have wrapped up for a little while playing the newest, one of the newer ones, Breath of the Wild, but she loved the puzzles more than the combat. She never got it quite as good as the combat. My son, Isaac, again, really likes the combat. Gabe likes advising him on the combat. So, you've got that total blend. When it comes to the one that I think ends up being dearest to my heart, and I've played as many as I possibly could have. And, again, maybe it's just a target demographic. Maybe it's just the scenery and everything else. But when it comes down to just that absolute, it's like a chef creating a dish, right? You gotta throw in enough violence. You got to sprinkle in the violence. You got to sprinkle in the gore. You got to get in the puzzles. You got to get in the world and the character development and the story. You really, to me, the perfection of it all was Resident Evil. I'm sorry. I know people may hate me for it. I saw all the movies too, and Mila Jovovich, God, that was Oscar-winning stuff, man. That was amazing. Because they didn't even really try and abandon the video game in that movie. Some of those movies they try and take way too seriously and really try and make films out of them. No, these were movie serialized versions of the video game. But there's no other video game where you get the haunted house, you get the zombies, and you have to make their heads explode. Plus, You get renegade mutant engineered sharks at one stage. You get all kinds of things, and you get the healthy suspicion of, you know, a giant corporation that runs everything and nothing is still at the same time, and that that makes weapons and household products all, not gonna say it's Amazon, but it's Amazon. As far as those things that influence our lives, you get all of that just wrapped up so beautifully. And even though the game ends up being much in the same case, the same things or the same way, God, I take joy at playing them. And still, even the sort of subsects of noticing the different characters that they did throughout them. Leon Kennedy, right? He shows up around number 4, but you really like him. But then linking it back to some of the original characters and some of the ideas that they have and these subsets that run through it. That to me is just that's the cuisine. Like, that's the finest meal. Like, can you get, just the right amount, and then, having to, in some rooms, totally slow down. Like Greg said, you have to move this piece to here. You have to move this statue in this way and make things happen in just the right order. And then go on and have just enough dexterity to beat the super zombie beast and, use the right combination of weapons for the giant centipede that comes out of the swimming pool that tries to kill you. That happens in Resident Evil 0, which I love. They made a game called Zero, a prequel to the original game, way on there, that in the end, in no way, it is the original game. Just for some reason, it's supposed to be the lost team that you never see in the first game, right? It's just absolutely, makes it, draws the lore together. I think that's a lot of it, why I like Star Wars games, Star Trek games, because they also represent my favorite franchises. But in this case, this idea of a kind of a binding lore, right? Raccoon City, this city that we, somewhere in America that we can't really put our finger on, but yet represents every city in America, from both East Coast, West Coast, and yet Middle City, all at the same time. The Umbrella Corp, right? As I say, just what a great name for it, right? Just totally sums it up. Umbrella Corp. Umbrella Corp. One of my favorite memes. That what with it was for Pride Month, they had all sorts of different corporations celebrating their pride, and they were all from various movies. They had and one of them was Umbrella Corp, with of course the rainbow colors on it, right? And they'd fucking do that. You absolutely know that in June Umbrella Corp would shamelessly parade out their logo in the United colors, right, for all the LGBTQ community, right? Just trying to feel like we don't care, we just want your money and we just want to rule the world. But it is just that it gives me that exact blend of escapism that, for whatever reason, I suddenly, for the ridiculous amount of hours that I put into it, can believe I could run around and carry all these weapons and blow these zombies' heads off, and have the intelligence to solve the computer code and to rewire whatever power systems or whatever, and then find the cure to a virus, right? I could do all of these things, God damn it. And all of it, like I say, balancing, I come back to that example. It's balancing a fine meal. It's balancing the dish so that it just has just that flavor profile, the sweet, the savory, the the little spice in there to just make it right. And I think that's what draws us into it. It gives us that opportunity to really get all those textures, all those flavors in our minds that we might sometimes be lacking in the real world. But
I mean, that's basically what I was saying too. Like, it had escape. It's not to say that escapism isn't part of it. It's just to say that any game designer will tell you escapism's never enough. Like the fact that you get to a point in damn near every game where, like, you'll get an upgrade, and then all of a sudden the next level you need to use that upgrade constantly. That's not an accident. Like, that's to make you think, that's to challenge you, because without the challenge you're not going to stay in. And I think that was that's what I was getting at. Like, I feel like even if the escapism is, and this we can debate, even if the escapism isn't escapism forward, then you're still going to be able to draw people in with the challenge.
Nothing quite keeps you in the game so much as when you wander out of your level where you're supposed to be, and then you get killed instantaneously by that one thing.
Oh, yeah.
Then you have to set your mind to, how do I beat that fucking thing, right? That's
Yeah.
that is the gamer's mindset. It's like, oh, they
or
told
when
me
you're
I
like,
can't go there.
Or when you're like playing the same boss constantly, and then you finally beat it, and you think you're finally going to beat it, and oh no, they have another ability.
Right. Their head
man.
splits open. Their head splits open, and then a flying beast comes out of it. And you're like, son of a bitch.
Right. You know, like it's the challenge that really keeps you coming back more than anything.
Without a doubt.
And that's the part we can totally debate.
Yeah, well, it goes on in that. But
and is RaShaun still on?
You there, RaShaun? All right.
Okay, because I'm gonna go ahead and say I think you're bad at Halo.
Oh man! Now I gotta.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing it wrong.
Now, like I gotta get back to. Now I gotta get back to him and have him have his rebuttal. But
there you go.
There we go. All right, but
I think you're doing Halo wrong.
All right, but
I will body you, bro. I'll body you, bro.
Throwing down in the Halo sphere.
Because we didn't talk about like, you know, online gaming, community gaming. Like that's a big thing that's changed. So now you've got these like, let's, you know, because I got the mic now. So hold up. So there's a game. I don't know if you know about Smash Bros. You know about Smash Bros?
I know about Smash Bros. Yeah.
You know about Smash Bros. Have you seen the Angry Smash Bros. Tournaments?
Oh, I haven't. I've had to YouTube though, so I'm sure if that's the case.
Grown ass men, like grown ass dudes getting angry and racist because they're losing at Smash Bros. It's unbelievable. And yeah, just that we didn't touch on that part of the culture, but because I don't do it, I stopped doing it. I don't want to hear, you know, some 12-year-old in Poland bitching people out. Like I'm not interested.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
But that's definitely a change in the culture too, like being able to play with total strangers, whereas before, you know, you had to put your, Super Nintendo in a bag and drag it to your friend's house. So you all could play together.
There was that. Yes. There was something to be said for that. Yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm going to take the controversial stance that, by the way, if you're some tween boy who threatens to sexually assault a girl because you lost to her at a video game, your parents need to like physically assault you for just enough, just to teach you a lesson. All right. I'll go online. That your ass needs to be whooped for that shit. Cause
they get fucking angry.
I know.
So angry. It's unbelievable.
No, it is not cool. So again, I'll take my controversial take and say, fuck that bullshit. Cause we ain't going to do it. Yeah. All right. Well, you know, we touched maybe on the first of several episodes here that we start to go on.
Hey.
That we start to go into.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, you're back. Yeah, we're back now. We got you now.
I've been trying to interject for this whole time. Yeah, you guys
Three of Clubs was in utter hell.
Oh my God!
Was in utter hell.
I've been losing it.
Motherfucker, I'm yelling at you.
I've been losing it for like the last 10 minutes. I must look like an absolute raving lunatic in my car right now. All right, so a couple of things I feel the need to actually attract.
RaShaun looks like one of those kids from Poland on the interactive video game now, right? He looks like he's screaming at Greg.
That was amazing.
I was about 2 comments away from turning into Michael Douglas from Falling Down. Which, by the way, I always felt like Falling Down was sort of a low-key video game movie because the way he yielded weapons out of nowhere, it felt just like watching a video game where a guy's walking around and he has a pistol, and all of a sudden he has a bazooka, and all of a sudden he has, an assault rifle, and he's just pulling out of thin air. That's kind of what Falling Down felt like when I was watching it. One, thank you very much for your Halo comment. I would argue that the last rank that I had in online game would disprove that, but yeah, go ahead, do you. Second part is, I think we continue to skip over what we're really saying with video games, which is where it hits you. You guys are arguing for what hits you, and I'm all well for it, and that's cool, and I'm not going to sit here and poo-poo it. That makes sense. But I can't sit here and say that's not what, or someone else is not going to want something different or not in it for the same thing. I think also video game designers will point out to you, if you're not entertaining the person, it doesn't matter what your puzzle is. Sure, there's going to be always a small section of people who want uber hard puzzles. I downloaded a game on Switch a couple of weeks ago that is trying to use actual physics that you would use in orbit to pilot a spacecraft. It is not entertaining. It is actual like doing physics, which is great if you want to do physics and stuff like that. But if that's not what you're in for or what you signed up for, it's not why you're going to stay. It's why, again, we have different genres within video games to begin with. That's why you can have a flight simulator, but then an action arcade game, both around flying, both basically could even be flying the same thing. However, what the person wants to do could be totally different. So you can't go at it as if like saying, well, everyone wants a simulation because everyone wants realism, or everyone wants a puzzle on how to fly a plane or land it. It's not always going to work out that way. It's not a hard and true formula. And one thing that does happen is you're experiencing in life that isn't your own. So whether it's sports or it's role playing or it's, first person shooters, anything, we can continue to go into it. It is what hits you in the moment of you doing it. I play Civilizations, and like I said, 1,000 hours. You know how many hours that actually is? I play it not just because it's a simulation.
That's a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Of not just creating a civilization, but also what it allows me to do for me, and I can't say this is for everyone, obviously, is it allows me to actually be a little bit more imaginative. As I'm creating these new worlds and new civilizations, I'm also world building in my head. And I play because you get to go through these eras and you get to change what civilization gets a handle of what technology and when and how that actually progresses their civilization forward in unforeseen ways. So the puzzle could be that, sure, and that is in part with how you actually are good with the game is you have to figure these things out. So I'm not poo-pooing that. I'm just saying I'm not there for that. I'm there because as I'm developing millennia of a new civilization, my head's also creating stories that I want to be a part of or be in. And in the same part, it's no different than when the problem that video games have when they go to movies or even TV shows, where people forget is that people place themselves in the arc or the mind or the vantage point of the hero. When you move to a movie, you change that. You no longer allow the player to have that autonomy. It is now conscripted and put and force-fed to that person, which is why often video game movies miss the mark, because they forget that what people are really there to do, regardless of the secondary reason, is to be in a situation, they themselves, that they never would probably have a chance to be in otherwise.
Well, I just want to thank Greg for sending you into work in the absolute best mood.
I know, best friend of mine. I mean, I see where he's getting that from. I totally dig where you're getting that from, and I understand why somebody would think that first. But yeah, you're not going to keep people that way. You're not going to keep people that way. Like if you do not have, like Josh was saying, the right balance also, because you do want to live, through the eyes of Snake or Master Chief or, random hoodlum beating people up in San Andreas, like whatever the case. Whatever the case. I know actually, there should be a falling down version of Grand Theft Auto.
That would make a lot of sense.
Definitely. I kind of think it already happened, but then you have to ask yourself, what actually is bringing the person back once they solve the puzzle? That's the point. They will solve the puzzle. They will move forward.
But that's usually
the thing that replay the game. if you're playing the same puzzle over and over, then the logic is now done. Because what you're saying is you're there for the challenge of the puzzle. Cool. But once you solve the puzzle, why are you still playing the game? You're playing the game for other reasons. Puzzles are part of it. I'm not poo-pooing that. I'm just saying we return to games, even games that they'll say, hey, there are 3 other ways you can play this. And then you play it, and you play eons of it. So then what actually are we saying? Why are you there? It isn't just the puzzle. You're entertained for different reasons. And I'm not going to sit here and say who's entertained for what. I'm just saying it can't just be that, because once you solve the puzzle, why are you still playing the game?
All right. Well, we're turning down for what? We are still playing our video games, whether we like them for puzzles, whether we like them for the violence or the combination therein. I guess I'm going all chef competition on y'all. Chefs, bring me I need the right balance. I want you to make me a dish that just totally gets enough blood and enough gore and enough puzzles just to bring it on in. But, well, I think we all know what our weekend plans are. I think RaShaun's going to, try and up his Halo game just to piss Greg off a little bit to prove his point right.
Body you, bro. Body you, bro.
But with that, as the 3 o'clock
they're so angry. Like the guy, seriously. Oh my God. So angry.
It gets all in there. But 3 clubs, as you're pulling up here to start your day and start us off on our day, what you got looking forward to for the rest of the day and the rest of the weekend? Yep. Yeah, if he's there.
He's there.
Hey,
he's there.
Sorry, guys. I'm in the middle of doing like 14 different things. One, finishing this work day, which, if you're going to talk about agitation, that's why I'm here. Is I'm agitated because of work and already. And 2, probably not playing Halo this weekend because I don't have an Xbox anymore. So that's going to be a challenge.
Well, good for you. Remember, one day at a time, brother. One day at a time.
Wow.
All right, Greg. What do you got?
Yeah.
It's a big weekend in the city. So there's a lot going on. There's Celtics playoffs, Red Sox opening day, Marathon Monday. It's Easter. Just too much of everything going on this weekend, actually. And, dealing with family and people coming in for all of that stuff. So it's going to be a busy weekend.
Yeah, I hear you. As we're starting off our a couple things. Much love to our everyone going out and running 26.2, especially my friend Debbie, who's running it for the second time for charity. So good on you. Nice work there. And, Godspeed and a nice smooth run for you. This will be coming out on Marathon Monday. So we'll have plenty of that going on. I'm going to go on out and smoke myself a brisket probably later on this weekend because it is Passover, and Passover means brisket. That's really what it's about. Forget all the plots of Moon Knight and everything else. It's it's about a good solid brisket, and something that's not too dry. Always the important part. Leave the fat on was my personal opinion. Other competition guys tell you to trim the fat cap. I get
clearly
it.
We have to do an episode on barbecue.
Yeah, there's that. That's that's it. This is I just argue that brisket is what the Jews gave to the barbecue world. That's all I'm saying, right? It's kind of one of those things. Just it's an overlap, it's a Venn diagram. It's a Venn diagram.
Do not
dude shit.
We're waiting on it. All right. I'll get busted up later. I promise everybody that goes on in there. But again, help us out. Shoot on over to iTunes and rate, review us, give us all that good stuff. Help us shoot on up, help us become your number one representative for dick pills, because I think 3 middle-aged guys who own cats are absolutely the perfect representatives for dick pills. I mean, that's just how could you not want these guys? How could you not want a piece of this, right? Going on in there. We do appreciate that, but keep listening. Tell a friend. We've been doing great on the socials. We are on Facebook as the Steam Gentleman Podcast. We are on Instagram. Do you even steam, bro? We're on Twitter now. The Steam G's. We'll be putting out some tweets later today, hopefully. getting on all that fun stuff. Been trying to up my mean game here as we're moving along. We really appreciate you listening. We're just having a blast doing this, and we really love the chance, and we just want to keep bringing you all of the best of pop culture and social commentary, bringing it on in. But till then, cruising on out. This is your friend Josh the Birdman saying, keep your heat up and keep your head of steam on.